Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. We got player props here on Thursday in the NBA. 2 games to choose from in this postseason. Got game 2 here for the Thunder and the Mavs. Also game 2 for that Celtics and Cavs series. I forgot which team was playing the Celtics because they didn't really seem to show up to game 1. But let's move into these player props that we've got in this video. Also going to be looking at best bets in a separate episode. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us all postseason now. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Use that prop finder tool that we have up there on the site under the NBA tab. It's a nice little chart to make sure that you can see all of the odds and the juice coming back your way, and the lines, I should say, for these bets this postseason. Nate, let's go ahead and get into your first NBA player prop here for Thursday.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Daniel Gafford here after game 1. And it was definitely a hit here on the rebounds. So, I mean, over 7.5 is the core bet here. But I think you can ladder it up 8.5. 9.5 gets you 2-1 on your money. And then these are not official bets, but if you consider plus 400 to lead the game in rebounds, I mean, Luka being the favorite in that regard, but he's not healthy, and that's not necessarily something you bank on, or plus 310 for Gafford to have a double-double after he goes 16-11 in game 1. 22 rebound chances, led the game, grabbed 5 of 12 offensive rebound chances. And in the first half, like, I'm looking at this bet, 6.5 rebounds, and like, shit, this is like not going well. Like, it was just unlucky. The ball was not bouncing to him. He still grabbed 4, and he comes down with 5 of 11 of his 11 rebounds in the third quarter. And then the game is out of hand, and he's pulled after 3 minutes in the fourth. But like, clearly he's the first option, right? I mean, he had 3 fouls, 5 blocks in 27 minutes. Derek Lively, 3 fouls, 2 turnovers, no blocks in 13 minutes. And I don't think he looked very good against this quick Thunder team. Gafford has the combination of quickness and size that like Joe Val lacked in the last series to be able to punish them on one end and then still be able to defend on the other end. And he's more so than PJ Washington. I think we've said that he has been the key to their defensive turnaround since that trade. Regardless, I mean, PJ now switched out onto SGA at points in that second half, right? Which is going to bring him away from the basket. We mentioned Luka is not completely healthy. Like, Gafford is the guy who has to close these possessions with rebounds. And then on the offensive end, like Chet, like I would take an under more than an over for Chet, like, who got over his points rebounds by 0.5 in game 1 with maybe the best, I mean, so far the best playoff game of his career. But he's going to continue to get pushed around by Gafford, who we mentioned in the regular season crushed him in the time he got a full slate of minutes, like averaged 18 rebound chances in the 2 in just 21 minutes. And Lively actually played more than him and was less effective. And yeah, as much as we say Joe Val, who did not do very well in the last series, he still leads the playoffs in 9 offensive rebound chances per game because he's matched up on Chet Holmgren. And Chet is just not that strong, and it's going to be tough for him to keep a true center off the boards.
Yeah, Gafford looks like freaking Thor when he plays against Chet for some reason. He's just like so big. He's so like angry going to the rim against Chet. I mean, he rocked the rim in a couple of those. And once he gets ahead of steam, that's a big part of it, is like, if you are good, it's interesting because the Thunder are actually pretty good against the roll man this year, if you look at that play type. But like, everything I saw from game 1, and honestly, anytime you watch Gafford play against Chet, just absolutely bullies him, right? Just absolutely just dominates him. It's almost criminal what he's doing when he plays against this team. I mean, this is 100% a bet that I have, and I liked it. The 18.5 PR was what I bet myself, but it's also at 19.5 now because I think that's become a popular bet. All you have to do is look at Gafford's numbers when he goes up against Chet. Even when he was on the Wizards, he played one against Chet, and you were still just like, oh, 2 of the teams that are worst at limiting rebounds to centers. What's going to happen here? Oh, okay, got it. Gafford's still better than Chet when it comes to that because he's an experienced vet who's much bigger and actually a way better player than we all realize because he was just drowning in DC with one of the worst franchises in the NBA. So now he's in a position that's much different. They're using him correctly. I absolutely love this. I was also on the double-double. It dropped really fast. I think that became a popular bet pretty quick, but it's still something that I really believe in for him with the way that he's 19.3 rebound chances in 3 games with the Mavs against the Thunder. Like, yeah, I don't think that's going down anywhere. And he's taken about 11.5 shots against this team as well because he knows that if he goes up and is already like moving quickly to the rim, he's not getting blocked or anything like that. It's just he's gonna put Chet into the rim if he has to. So I'm gonna go with a big man rebounds here as well in the Celtics series and take Luke Cornett. I believe there's still a 4.5 hanging out there, and if you can get over 4.5, great. If you can only get 5.5, I would still try to do it for like a little bit better than even money there, because I think there's like a plus 110 around for him to get over 5.5 boards. But dude, he had 20 rebound chances in 21 minutes last game. I could not believe that when I saw it. I was like tapping my screen, like, is this correct? Does this need to be refreshed? How does he have 20 rebound chances in 21 minutes? That's what he's out there to do. Honestly, he's just like, I think Luke Cornett just comes onto the floor, has his hands up, and just stays that way for the entirety of the time he's on the floor, right? And he embodies the coach who's like, get those hands up. Let me see those hands. Like, he's available for the pass, but more importantly, he's already got his hands up ready for the board. And he's been incredible. I mean, the last two since KP went down, he honestly didn't even play that much garbage time in the last two games for this Celtics team when they smacked the Heat in Game 5, and then obviously just waxed the Cavs 25 points in Game 1. He played just 21 and 23 minutes. Like, if it's a blowout, he's actually become important enough to the rotation with Kristaps out that like he's getting those first quarter minutes, a lot of second quarter minutes. His rotation has become like, basically, I'm going to play the end of the first quarter, and then I'm going to play a large part of the second quarter, and same concept for the second half with the third and fourth quarters. So I'm not worried about his rotation stuff because he's clearly important to this team. In fact, not playing garbage time as much as he could have kind of indicates to me that he's a pretty important part of this team. And so, yeah, without KP, though, 31 rebound chances and 17 boards over his last two games. Like, I don't care if you're playing against the Heat and the Cavs. Like, those are still two good rebounding teams, even without Jared Allen and obviously Jimmy Butler missing in the last series. So I still think that this is like useful data and not just something you throw away because those two teams were a little bit worse. Plus, Jay Allen tonight. And this was like maybe one of the safest bets that I thought that I put in last night, because I was still saying, like, even if Jared Allen plays in this game, one, how healthy is he really going to be? And two, like, this is still safe. Like, this is, if he's getting 20 to 23 minutes, this is still a safe bet for Luke Cornett with the way that he's getting those rebound chances. He had 12 minutes in the first half and gobbled up 8 rebounds. The Cavs continue to struggle to score outside of Donovan Mitchell. Darius Garland is just building a house. Max Strus is helping him reinforce that house with a little apartment in the backyard that's made of bricks. So like it's troublesome for the Cavs out there, and that's a huge reason for why Cornett's able to gobble up all these boards. And really, you look at him on the season without KP this year, like that's it. He's the dude. He's the dude that comes in and gets those rebounds for this Celtics team when KP's out. He went over 4.5 boards and has at least actually has 5+ in 16 of 23 this season when he played without KP. But if you actually bump that up and say, okay, KP didn't play, and I'm also filtering this to the times where Luke Cornett played at least 17 minutes, and I'll max him out at like 22 because I don't want to. There's a couple games where he was like a starter because everybody else was out. But in this situation, basically, where he's playing 17 to 22 minutes, he went over in 9 of 11 games doing that. With that amount of minutes, he averaged about 6 boards, 5.8 in 20 minutes when he gets without KP overall, and 12 rebound chances per game without KP. So Luke Cornett, hands up, Luke Cornett with let's say it goes down to like 15 to 12. It's 12 rebound chances, which is still, like I said, the average of what he played, what he copped when he was without Kristaps this season. Like he's still like 5 boards on 12 chances for Luke Cornett. Absolutely, I would take 6 boards on 12 chances for Luke Cornett. I think a 50% rebound chance success rate is very normal for Luke Cornett. It's low actually for him for what he had this during the season. He just got 11 on 20, so a little bit better than 50%. So yeah, this is still a little bit low to me. I don't know if the books think that like people are afraid to take a backup for the Celtics, but he's become an important part of that rotation enough to assume he's getting 20 to 24 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, usually you think of an under as like there's multiple ways for this to hit, but this is an over where there's more ways for it to hit than not. Like the ways this doesn't hit is like extreme variance in terms of the ball not bouncing his way in his 20-ish minutes, a competitive game where he doesn't get to play in the fourth, or Joe Maz suddenly deciding he's either going to jump Xavier Tillman in the rotation or play Al Horford like 35 minutes in a game that they really don't even have to worry about. But I mean, yeah, you want Cornett out there to match the length of Mobley. I mean, he's been very effective, against this Cavs team that cannot shoot from the outside. So I think it's a good call for sure. I also feel like there's more ways for this under to hit. Luka under 4.5 turnovers, -115 at MGM. And yes, he had 5 turnovers for a second straight playoff game and been a little bit banged up, but this line is too high to say it's even money either way that he has 5 turnovers, because this is Luka after a loss. And what we've seen lately is he comes right back and drops 40 every time that they're like, oh, he's buried, like he's not healthy. I mean, after the losses against the Clippers in this last series, 9.5 assists per game, 2.5 turnovers. After game one loss against the Warriors 2 years ago, where he had 7 turnovers, he goes for 42, 8, and then 2 turnovers. Did not have 5 turnovers the entire rest of the series. And while OKC is very good at getting in your grill, making you turn it over, I mean, he's been pretty good against Lou Dort in terms of limiting those. He did have 7 turnovers in game one against them back in December. Kyrie did not play in that game. So we're also talking about 36 potential assists, 18 assists, 89 passes, which are just like astronomical numbers for Luka, who's now been much more balanced. He's been about 55 passes per game in these playoffs. He's driving 23 times, only averaging 1 turnover on those drives, 4% rate, and there's only a 6% rate in the 2 versus OKC this season. Actually leads the playoffs in secondary assists per game, so he's getting the ball out of his hands, avoiding bad situations, aka Paolo Banchero, who will hold on to it way too long, get way too deep. And the other thing is, like, he's not healthy, so he's settling for a lot of threes, which is not going to be a turnover for sure, because he's just going to get it up here. I mean, 11.6 3-point attempts and on the road, averaging 3.5 turnovers on the road since February 1st versus 5 at home. In the playoffs, higher 3-point percentage on the road, more attempts, more assists, or fewer assists, fewer turnovers. And then, the other ways is, like, again, if he's injured, he might exit early. This still cashes. If he's injured and the Mavs can't compete and they get blown out, this probably cashes. If he has to defer to Kyrie and handles the ball less, which he's done pretty often in the playoffs, this still cashes. So I just think there's a lot of ways where you're like, or he has a really good game and he's like, oh, Luka's fine. Like, he's just going to play at his speed. You can't touch him. And he's not going to have 5 turnovers because he's that good.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, with Luka, like, I know it sounds terrifying, but like, I still think like an under PRA is in play. I just don't think he'll be as active. One of, like, I don't know, half of the outs that you just put out there, like, all involve him just basically not being able to be full strength Luka. I think that's a huge part of what we're saying here is, like, he can't try to do too much because he physically can't try to do too much. Like, I think a part of the reason you keep seeing him shoot threes despite putting up just awful numbers from 3 is because he just can't do much else. He's not as effective right now getting into the lane. Plus, you get put in the torture chamber, brother. Good luck with that. And not to mention, like, it's basically like J-Dub and Lou Dort is like the thunder and lightning of defense in the NBA at this point. Shout out Ron Dane and Tiki Barber, where you're just like, look, I'm going to beat the crap out of you with the starter here until we get down to the nitty gritty. And now it's like, okay, the backup running back can just come in and have easy holes because you're exhausted. And that's Lou Dort beating up. So Lou Dort is Ron Dane, by the way. J-Dub is Tiki Barber, this analogy, because of the fact that J-Dub coming in, it's like, honestly, is he much worse of a defender than Lou Dort on one-on-one? Not really. It's like 1A and 1B in terms of how effective they are. But Lou Dort has 5 fouls that they're happy to soak up from the Thunder coaching staff. They're like, yeah, great. Lou Dort, 5 fouls. Wonderful. We don't only need him to play 27, 28 minutes. And then we can put J-Dub on Luka in those other minutes when we need to, especially when we take Shai out. And now, J-Dub is kind of out there as the man, and maybe there's no Lou Dort. So, yeah, there's just so much that they can throw at him. But the turnovers is a good look because of the lower usage. I still think, like, the assists scare me as adding it. I mean, points and rebounds might be a good look. I can't believe Luka is listed as the favorite to be the rebound leader in this situation. Like, he's not exactly like hustling after balls to get those rebound numbers up when he's hobbling around, to be honest. Like, he does not look like the same Luka, and I'm happy to continue to fade him. Same concept for Jason Tatum, by the way. Like, I don't know, I'm just going to keep going under on his points until he gets there. They leave it at 27.5, then I'll just keep taking the under. I don't think he's like worried about his scoring with the way that this team looks. So just an added little nugget there. But let me close out with my namesake here, Josh Green. And I was kind of looking in game one at whether I should back Green or Derrick Jones Jr., and I went with neither, and it was Green the whole time. So I'm not going to make that mistake again. I can get him over 5.5 points still for even money, which is great. That's really where this comes from. I put a half a unit on it originally, and what I was worried about is, like, is Tim Hardaway Jr. going to actually come back and be a little bit better? That would be the fear here. I have not seen a single thing that indicates that he's, like, ready to go. He played garbage time in this last game, which is kind of where he's at, it looks like, in terms of his rhythm and his ability to get out there. Didn't make a shot, by the way, as well for THJ which is sad because he's so important for this team. But somebody has to step up, because the only place that OKC is truly vulnerable is the corners. And that's kind of where I started when I was looking at he or Derrick Jones Jr. Derrick Jones Jr. had 7 points in the first half, didn't take a shot in the second half. So that's obviously not a priority for him. But Luka was finding Josh Green. I mean, he took 8 threes in this last game for Josh Green and made 3 of them. I don't like, if he's going to take 8, then I'm fine with the need for him to make 2, right? And I dumb that down to 6. He's still a 33% 3-point shooter, and from the corners specifically, better than that in the corners to get there. And that's where he's going to take all of his shots, right? It's either going to be in the corner, or it's going to be in transition, or it's going to be driving on the baseline. And if Daniel Gafford is there to kind of keep Chet Holmgren at bay and worried about him, then yeah, I think that it'll be a little bit more open in the lane for a super high flyer, by the way, and Josh Green, that like, I'm not worried about him going up against a really good shot blocker like Chet one-on-one if he's going to be, skying and getting up to the rim there. But I think the shots are really what it is. Like, that's a part of the Luka not 100% theory here, and not even theory. It's just like, observation, is that like he's throwing that corner pass a little bit faster than you might see in possessions, right? Like, the corner 3 is something he normally does after he's like gets his guy to his spot, does what he wants to do towards the middle of the lane, and then it's the jump pass over his head to the corner. Well, in the last game, I counted 3 different times where he didn't even make a move. He was standing like 5 feet outside the 3-point line and threw that corner pass because it was open, and because that's what is open against the Thunder. But also, it was like, I don't want to work that hard anymore to make that pass when the dude's already open in the corner. So that's why I think Josh Green's going to continue to be that outlet. It's a similar thought to like the Peyton Pritchard bet I put out in the best bets, where it's like Peyton Pritchard is the off-ball man, and like, if all of the defenses, if there's 10 eyes focused on Luka, that means that there's 0 on Josh Green at that point. And that's part of the strategy. I mean, that's OKC's strategy. It's not like it's by accident that they give up the 4th or 3rd most corner 3s in the league this season. That is very much so on purpose. So I'm going to look at the dudes who are taking those shots, especially the one who I trust more to dribble the ball into the lane and go up, right? Like DJJ, as good of a dunk champion he is, he's won me a couple of dunk championships when I picked him as well, and titles in the dunk contest. Like, great, but that's not the same as like being in game with a defender on you and having to go up over a dude or around a dude. And I just like Josh Green's ability to do that a little bit more. I think they trust him to shoot a little bit more. I think DJJ obviously showed that in the second half, didn't even take a shot, like I said, but Josh Green keeps pulling, and I see him continuing to do so. So this is something that he's actually had some success with when you have a team that's in the bottom 10 or so defending those corner 3s. There's a couple of examples throughout the season, including like the Heat and the Chicago Bulls, that he's actually a little bit better at getting down into that corner and scoring against those types of teams. So I'm going to go keep riding that in this one for him to get just make 2 or 3 buckets and we're good to go here, fam.
Yeah, he finished the season going 1 for 8 against OKC because the stars were out and he was getting high volume, but he was not getting quality looks. So now they're just clearly in game 1, they were like, we're fine with you shooting. We're fine. And then he like hit 3 of his first 4. And I mean, J Kidd, he's got to play more. Like, this game kind of got away from you because you went to THJ in the 3rd quarter, sort of a desperation move to like generate some offense. You need Josh Green's athleticism out there. Like, I mean, DJJ was not a good matchup for Shea. Like, he got pulled off of him. He's not helping you that much as a connective piece on offense. So like, Josh Green's got to play more at the expense of both of those guys. And I think, yeah, he's kind of got that physical profile that can match up with the J-Dub, Aaron Wiggins, like all these sizable wings that they're throwing at you. And that was a reason that they pulled away from you. Like, you gotta play Josh Green. And if he plays like 25 minutes again, like, yeah, I think he stumbles into 6 points one way or another.
Yeah. It's about the minutes being there with the volume. And I think, if, like you said, if he plays even like 22, 25 minutes in that range, I think we're good for that. So it seems like it is a series a little bit more made for him. And I'll back him in this one. Like I was saying, instead of like trying to get after DJJ, that was a really bad game 1 for him. But that is all the time that we have for you here in Play It Props. Continue to follow along. Check out those best bets that we have up in a separate episode, bringing you both these each and every day now moving forward throughout this postseason. So until we see you next, happy betting. Step it up.